Hello friends, it's Christy here with greenlivingoffgrid.com, and today I'm going to show you how to take your old peanut butter jars and turn them into a Windowsill hydroponic grow system. Let's get started. First thing you're going to want to do is clean out your jar and remove the wrapper from the outside. Once you're done scrubbing out your jar and cleaning all the peanut butter from around the edges on the inside of the cap and on the edge of your jar, the next thing you're going to want to do is drill a hole in your lid. Depending on what size net pot you want to do, if you're going to do a 3-inch net pot, you'll drill a 3-inch hole with a hole saw. Or if you want to do a 2-inch net pot, then you'll drill a 2-inch hole in the lid of your jar. I'm going to go ahead and go with a 3-inch net pot, as I really like these guys. They're big enough that I can also start my bigger plants. I mean, the 2 inches are great if you're going to just grow lettuces or some small herbs or anything, spinach, whatever does well in 2 inches. But if you want to start, let's say you decide you want to use this little jar to start some tomato plants or something that's going to be a large plant, you might want to start them with a 3-inch net pot in your jar. And of course, once those roots come down through the net pot, it's really hard to transplant the plant into a bigger net pot later if you start them in a small 2-incher. So if you're going to be growing a larger plant and you want to just start it in this jar, I wouldn't suggest a tomato in something like this small. Obviously they need a whole lot more space for roots and water and all that, but if you want to just start them in here, this is a good way to go. Just have your 3-inch hole drilled into the lid. Well, once you finish drilling out the lid, you're going to have some plastic filings that you'll have to dump into the trash can from drilling. Get all that plastic out, and then you want to rinse the jar again. And then you're going to fill up the jar. And let me show you where you're going to fill it. You're going to take your net pot, you're going to put it inside the hole, and you're going to fill the water level up to just a 1/4 inch from the bottom of the net pot. All right. You can see how the net pot is just sitting into the water about a 1/4 inch. And at this point, then you can test your water if you need to change or adjust the pH for your plant that you're growing. In my case, I do lettuces and spinach, and they'd like 7.5. We have 7.8 to 8.0 pH, and so coming out of our well water is usually really good for most of the crops that I grow in hydroponics. So I don't adjust pH, but depending on where you live, you might have to, and also depending on your plant. Some plants like it lower, a lower pH, below 7, like 6.5 to 7 or 5.5 in some cases. So just check on the plants you're going to be growing, and you might have to adjust pH. But for most herbs or lettuces and things like that, if you have anything around 7 to 8, you're going to be fine. Next, you're going to add your nutrient to your water. My favorite nutrient for green plants, for the green growth, and for small vegetation, especially lettuces and spinach, is Maxi Grow from General Hydroponics. It's formulated perfect for lettuces and spinach, and that's my favorite crop in these small little containers. Now, what you're going to need for this is, it says 1 to 2 teaspoons per gallon of fresh water. 1 to 2 teaspoons. Now, what I generally will do with these small plants, lettuces, I'll err on the side of giving them less, because they don't need that much nutrients to grow. If you're growing tomatoes, you probably want a TDS of 1,000 or more as the plants get bigger. But with these smaller plants, you want to go in the lower. TDS stands for total dissolved content. Usually if you go with the 1 teaspoon per gallon of fresh water, it grows the lettuces just right. What I like about the Maxi Grow is it's all formulated. The powder has everything I need. I don't have to add any other supplements. I can just Put it in here, mix it all up. And one thing about the crack key method of hydroponics is you don't even need any aerators, you don't need any electricity for air pumps. Basically, as the plant takes up the nutrients and that water level drops, it's going to provide some airspace. You know, you have airspace right here as it's starting, and then airspace as the roots drop down and the water drops. For the plants, it's going to provide enough air so that you won't have to have an aerator going for these smaller plants. And of course, you're going to have to watch the solution as it gets lower. You'll need to refill it because you really don't want to have the water drop below this point. And I know that they say to change it every week. I only change it as it needs water. I actually don't even change it. I just refill and add the nutrients to the water, and I really have found that that's the simplest thing to do when I'm growing, especially in small containers like this or bigger units. I just find that as long as I keep it filled with the water level, and you know, as the roots come out, I will typically fill the water right about here if I've got a good roots covering into the water, and I won't necessarily fill it this high all the time, but just for starting, I obviously need it this high so that I have some water to wick up into the Rockwool Cube. And this Rockwool Cube, usually Rockwool Cubes come in, you know, a big bag with a big flat of a bunch of little cubes, and so I'll typically cut them out, get one of these, I'll put it inside, and I typically want to fill it up with water like this. So it's got the nutrient solution. I'm going to put some hydrogen clay pellets around here, then I'll drop my seed in the middle of this. Now that I have the hydrogen clay pellets in to stabilize the Rockwool Cube, I'm ready to put my lettuce seed in. My favorite lettuce is the Butterhead heirloom lettuces, but I also like romaine quite a bit as well. I usually just drop one seed into the hole, and then I will watch it, and if it doesn't sprout in a week, sometimes I have 1 or 2 doesn't sprout up, I'll stick another seed in there and keep trying to reseed it two or 3 times. And if for whatever reason it doesn't sprout, sometimes you just have to replace the Rockwool Cube and put another seed in. But generally I'll try just one seed, and usually it will sprout up in about a week. And I will show you how this thing grows in the windowsill. Here we are with day number 6 in our little windowsill hydroponics, and look at that little sprout. Notice I put a black towel around. That is to keep the light from developing algae inside my clear jar. So I just wrapped it with a black hand towel, put a little rubber band around it. I can still easily check the water. But there we go, day 6. Well, here we are at 2 weeks. For best results, keep your unit in a window that gets southwest exposure to the sunlight, because that will give you the best light for growing. I'd like to show you, here at 2 weeks, our lettuce has begun to drop some roots. I did have to fill it with a little bit more water, but it's doing pretty good overall.